Good evening. I'd like to invite you to come to a comfortable seated position on your mat. Grab whatever props you have available and have them nearby so that when you practice, they're accessible. So I'm going to place a block under my sits bones to raise my hips above my knees. I'm going to allow my hands to rest comfortably on my lap. I'm going to rock from side to side and equally distribute the weight between both sits bones. From here, I'm going to engage my core. I'm going to take a nice inhale, roll my shoulders up towards my ears. And as I exhale, bring my shoulder blades down and back, lengthening the crown of my head toward the sky, slightly tucking my chin to lengthen the back of my neck. Finding mountain pose in Sukhasana. So remember that mountain pose is our foundational pose for all yoga poses. I'm going to allow my palms to turn upward, allowing my fingers to relax, and begin to breathe in and out through my nose. If it's available for you, I invite you to do the same. Finding a nice steady rhythm with your breath, perhaps a 4 to 5 count inhale and a 4 to 5 count exhale, or play around with the breath a little bit. Some people like to inhale to a 4 or 5 count and then exhale an 8 count. So whatever works for you and what's comfortable for you is perfectly fine. When you're ready, begin to engage your 3-part belly breath as you inhale, expanding your belly, then expanding your lungs and ribs, and then expanding your chest. And as you exhale, contract the chest, contract the lungs and the ribs, and contract the belly. Engaging your parasympathetic nervous system, beginning to wind down and to bring ourselves just to our mat, centering ourselves, trying to tune out all the distractions of the day. Beginning to scan the body from the crown of the head all the way to the tips of the toes, noticing any sensations you're feeling in your body, whether that be the temperature of the room, any tension or pain, any type of sensation such as hunger, perhaps the feeling of wanting to urinate, whatever you may need to focus on. And just be aware of the sensations that you're experiencing without judgment. Next, I invite you to shift your focus to your emotions. How are you feeling emotionally today? Perhaps labeling your feelings. Remember we did the labeling thoughts meditation? Labeling feelings is a lot like labeling thoughts. So just becoming aware of the thoughts that pass through your mind and perhaps beginning to notice what emotions you can associate with those thoughts. And then finally, connecting the mental self. Just take an assessment of where your thoughts have been the last couple of days, perhaps the last day, the last hour. Notice how your frame of mind has been. Have you been scattered? Have you been focused and concentrated? Whatever you may want to label the way your thought patterns have been lately. And we're going to begin with a round of sun salutations just to warm up the body. And today's class is going to focus on inversion. So I'm outside in my neighborhood. There are common distractions. So if you hear people in the background, try to tune that out and focus on what I'm teaching. So I would like to ask you to come to the top of your mat and come to mountain pose. Finding the 4 corners of both feet. Maybe rocking from side to side, moving your feet forward and back, lifting the toes and the heels, and just beginning to become aware of how your weight is distributed among those 4 corners in both feet. Keep your knees soft, and maybe placing the hand in your low back. Push your low back into your hand, engaging your core muscles, bringing your arms down beside you with your palms forward, taking an inhale, rolling the shoulders up, and then exhaling the shoulders back and down, lengthening the crown of the head toward the sky, and slightly tucking your chin. Let's begin with some half sun salutation A's. If you need a block to raise the floor to you, feel free to grab one. Taking a nice deep inhale into Urdhva Hastasana, perhaps arching the back, and then exhaling your hands down to heart center. Doing that a couple more times, inhaling up, exhaling hands to heart center. And one more time, inhaling, extend, Exhaling hands to heart center. Adding on here, inhaling into Urdhva Hastasana, and then exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, and then exhaling, forward fold, softening the knees. Taking an inhale all the way up into extended mountain, and then exhaling right back into Uttanasana. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhaling Uttanasana, softening the knees. Inhaling into extended mountain, Urdhva Hastasana, and exhaling one more time, Uttanasana. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana, exhaling Uttanasana. Taking a nice breath in, inhaling up, Urdhva Hastasana, and exhaling hands to heart center, coming back to mountain pose. Let's begin to add on. Remembering that Sun Salutation A was created to heat the body and energize the body. So finding Tadasana, taking a nice deep breath in, extended mountain, and then exhaling Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana, exhaling step back, drop to your knees, and lower down Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale Cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhaling Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Staying in down dog for several breaths, stretching out your calves, pressing one heel down followed by the other, loosening up those calf muscles. Keeping the breath flowing. And when you're ready, bending both knees, lifting the sits bones high, and exhaling, pressing both heels down toward the mat. On your inhale, step to the top of the mat, and lift halfway, Ardha Uttanasana, Uttanasana fold. Inhaling into extended mountain, and exhaling mountain. Let's do that several more times, just warming up the body. Remembering to breathe and not hold your breath. So finding mountain pose, Tadasana, taking a nice deep inhale into Urdhva Hastasana, exhaling Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana, lifting halfway. Stepping back and taking Chaturanga Dandasana, or go straight to downward facing dog. Inhale Cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Stepping or hopping to the top of the mat. Inhale Ardha Uttanasana. Exhaling Uttanasana. Inhale Urdhva Hastasana. And exhaling Uttanasana. Inhale Ardha Uttanasana. Step or hop back, lowering down to Chaturanga or taking downward facing dog. Inhaling into Cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhaling downward facing dog. Stepping or hopping to the top, Ardha Uttanasana, Uttanasana. Inhaling Urdhva Hastasana, Samastitihi to Tadasana. Inhaling Urdhva Hastasana, exhale Uttanasana. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana, step or hop back, taking Chaturanga or downward facing dog. Inhale Bhujangasana Cobra. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Stepping or hopping to the top. Inhaling halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhaling, extended mountain. Exhale, Tadasana. Finding Sun Salutation B now. So finding your mountain pose. Finding your breath, remembering to link the breath with the movement. Inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana. Stepping or hopping back, and finding down dog or Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhaling your left leg high, three-legged dog. On the exhale, bringing that left foot forward, lower wrist lunge. Inhale, high crescent. Exhale, Chaturanga or down dog. Inhaling into Cobra or up dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Inhaling your right leg high, three-legged dog. Bringing the right foot forward, low runner's lunge. High crescent lunge on the inhale. Chaturanga or down dog on your exhale. Inhaling cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhaling step or hop to the top of the mat. Ardha Uttanasana. Uttanasana fold. Inhaling chair, Utkatasana. Exhale now, Tadasana. Let's do that one more time. So, just notice the reaction or the response your body is experiencing with those sun salutations. Let's do one more sun dig. Finding your breath, finding mountain. Inhale into Utkatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Ardha Uttanasana, lifting halfway. Stepping or hopping back. Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling into cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale that left foot forward, low runner's lunge. High crescent lunge, chaturanga or down dog. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Extending your right foot high, three-legged dog. Exhaling right foot forward, low runner's lunge. High crescent lunge. Chaturanga or downward facing dog. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Stepping or hopping to the top, halfway lift. Fold forward on your exhale. Inhaling chair pose. And exhaling mountain. Just noticing the sensations in your body, your heart rate, the temperature of your body, the breathing. Notice that your breathing has probably become a little more shallow or even more rapid as we practice those sunays. Now today I'm going to talk with you about inversions. So just take a moment and find a seated pose. Inversions are one of the most beneficial types of yoga poses you can do. When you do an inversion, your heart is below your head. Sometimes your legs can be up in the air. Sometimes they are not. But the benefits of an inversion are that it allows your heart a break. Because when you're in an upright position, your heart has been pumping constantly since birth. And it's been fighting gravity to pump the blood through your body. So when you take an inversion and put your heart below your feet or your legs, below your head, it gives your heart an opportunity to rest. So that's one of the many benefits of an inversion. Another benefit of an inversion is that it helps stimulate your immune system. So by doing an inversion, you can help prevent its illness, or you can even lessen the severity of some illnesses. Some inversions are good for your thyroid gland. Some inversions are good for your digestive system. So there are a number of different benefits for doing inversions. So let's begin with the easiest of all inversions, which would be child's pose. So when we come to child's pose, and we've done this in class this semester, our big toes are together and our knees are apart. Now notice as I take child's pose that my head is below my heart. So I'm almost, in a sense, upside down, but not completely. So by placing my head below my heart in child's pose, I'm allowing myself to practice one of the simplest inversions we can do. You can always stack your fist in child's pose and rest your forehead on your fist. You can use a block under your forehead. You can bring your arms out beside you. Or you can simply, if flexibility allows, just rest your forehead on the mat. Child's pose is also a great tension reliever in the low back, as well as a nice quad stretch. If you do not have the flexibility to take a full child's pose like this, then simply take a bolster and place it between your hamstrings and your calves and allow yourself some space there. So inversion number 1, child's pose, Balasana. Inversion number 2 is one that we practiced this semester. I haven't taught it necessarily as an inversion, but it's bridge pose. So using a block, I'm going to use a block because I like supported bridge, but you don't have to have a block. I'm going to come to my back. I'm going to plant my feet hip width apart. My knees are about hip width apart. I'm going to find the four corners of both of my feet, and I'm going to walk my heels in towards my bum. Grab my block. Remember, we have 3 levels. I'm going to lift my hips and place the block under my sacrum, my low back. And I'm just going to hang out here. Now notice, my head is below my heart. So this is also an inversion. It's a great inversion to open and create space in your abdominal cavity to allow your digestion to improve. It's a great tension reliever in the low back, especially if you go into Salamba. Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, which is supported bridge. You can raise your hips and raise the height of the block. So just holding this pose is a great pose for your back. It's a great pose for your digestive system. It's also a great relaxation and restorative pose. And if you add Durga breath, your 3-part breath, it can really engage your parasympathetic nervous system. So that is our second inversion. The third inversion is going to be legs up the wall or supported hip stand. Salamba Sarvangasana, supported shoulder stand, is also another name for it. So I'm always going to use the low level of the block for this pose. I'm going to plant, I hope y'all can see me, it's getting dark here. So listen to my cues if you can. I'm going to plant my feet. I'm going to lift my hips, put the block under my low back on the lowest level, and simply lift my legs and feet up toward the sky. And I'm just going to relax and hang out here. Once again, my head is below my heart. The block is supporting me, so I'm not having to put forth a lot of effort to hold my legs up. For people who can't get into shoulder stand, this is an excellent pose. This pose stimulates the immune system. So just holding this pose can help, especially if you're starting to feel symptoms of a cold or the flu coming on. It might help stimulate that immune system to fight off whatever virus is invading your body. To come out of the pose, we simply plant our feet down and come to supported bridge, lift the hips and lower the back down. So that is inversion number 3. Inversion number 4 is shoulder stand. Now with shoulder stand, some people are not able to get up into shoulder stand. Specifically, if you're a heavier person, it's a little bit harder. With shoulder stand, you want to remember that you want the weight to be in the back of the head and the shoulders. You do not want the weight on your neck. So if you feel any tension at all on your neck, don't do this pose. Come out of it. I'd like to ask you to lock into a drishti right above your eyes. And once you get into shoulder stand, do not move your head from side to side because you can really cause some injuries if you do so. So to come to shoulder stand, I'm simply going to lie down, plant my feet like I'm going to take bridge. I'm going to inhale, pull my knees towards my head, lift my legs up, and support my low back with my hands. I'm going to make sure that my shoulders and the back of my head are taking the weight. I don't feel any stress in my neck. I've locked into a drishti right above my eyes, and I am concentrating and breathing. I've also closed off my thyroid. I'm constricting my thyroid. So this is a great pose to stimulate your thyroid gland. Relax your legs. It's okay if they kind of lean back. You can engage your body and make it a more powerful pose if you'd like, but you don't have to get the benefits. And just breathe. Hang out in this pose. Notice my head is below my heart. Therefore, it is an inversion. If you could not make it to shoulder stand, you can do supported headstand again or supported shoulder stand. So Sarvangasana, shoulder stand. To come out of it safely, I'm going to bend my knees, pull my knees towards my head, and roll out. Now, one thing that we like to do after we do shoulder stand is the counter pose of fish. So for fish, I'm going to use a bolster tonight. You can use a block if you like or a pillow. You don't have to use either. I'm going to show you a way to do it without using the bolster. I'm simply going to slide up against this bolster and just drape myself across this bolster, opening my upper back and my chest, allowing my head to relax and opening up that thyroid, allowing blood to flow through it. I can straighten my legs or bend them. It's completely personal choice how you do it. And just relax. This is one of my favorite yoga poses of all. Supported fish. It's a great tension reliever all along the spine. And it's also an inversion. This one isn't as much of an inversion as the next one I'm going to show you. So I'm going to come out of the supported fish, and I'm going to show you how to do it without a block, okay? So I'm simply going to come down onto my back, and I'm going to take my arms. I'm going to roll to one side and put one arm under, and then roll to the other side, put the other arm under. My palms are down. And from here, my hands are under my hamstrings. I've got very long arms. I'm going to inhale and lift myself up, arch my back, and drop my head down. Only if my neck is comfortable. If this bothers your neck, don't do it. But notice, once again, my head is below my heart. So I'm, once again, practicing an inversion. Fish pose is called Matsyasana. To come out of it, I'm simply going to lower, bend my knees, roll my arms. And when you do shoulder stand, fish pose is a great counter, and they really should be done together, especially to benefit the thyroid. The next inversion is legs up the wall, which I've already shown you, but I'm going to use this pole as my wall. We did supported hip stand, which is essentially the same thing. Legs up the wall uses the wall as a prop, so I'm going to simply slide down up against, get my bum as close to the pole as possible, and I'm just going to lift my legs up, and I'm going to rest my heels on the pole. So notice here, I'm doing essentially the same pose that I did with the block under my leg back. This is a great restorative pose. If you don't have a block, you can use a wall. And to come out of it, I'm simply going to roll off the wall and press myself up. All right, the next inversion is a headstand. And I don't want anyone to do the headstand who feels like uncomfortable with it. If you're afraid or if you don't want to try it because you have a cervical injury, then by all means, just watch. I'm going to show you a tripod headstand. And I do not want anyone lifting your legs up high. I want them bent and resting on your arms. If you have a wall and you want to get up against the wall for some extra security, feel free. So tripod headstand is fairly simple to teach and fairly simple to practice. You've probably done it in PE when you were in kindergarten, first grade, or in elementary school. So we're going to start with dolphin. Dolphin pose is also an inversion, and it's headstand prep. And we did dolphin pose when we did the Shivananda practices. So coming to table pose, coming down onto your forearms with your palms down. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, and straighten your legs, pressing back and engaging your shoulders. So dolphin is a lot like down dog. It's just down dog on your forearms, and you feel an intense stretch in the back of your legs. So if headstand doesn't work for you, feel free to take dolphin. Dolphin will strengthen your upper body and prepare you for headstand later. So you always want to start with dolphin if you don't have the core strength to go into headstand. So headstand, tripod headstand. It's very important to imagine an isosceles triangle. So thinking back to geometry, when you were in 10th grade or 11th grade in high school, geometry plays a big role in yoga. I've discovered it's one of the math forms that I use most of all. So for tripod headstand, we're actually going to be planting the palms down. And we want to envision an equilateral or an isosceles triangle, with one corner being one hand, the opposite corner being another, and the crown of your head being the third. Now, it's important that you don't plant your head right between your hands because you're going to lose balance. You want them to be equally apart, and you want to have a stable foundation. So do not go into headstand, tripod, or any other if you feel unstable. Okay? So I'm going to plant my hands. I'm going to come to table pose. And I'm simply going to walk my knees in towards my hands. I'm not going to move my hands, just my knees. My head's moving. And now my head is way out in front of my hands. I'm going to tuck my chin. I'm going to plant the crown of my head on the mat. I'm going to lift my knees. I'm going to walk my feet in. And I'm going to bring one knee to one tricep and the other knee to the other tricep. And I'm now in tripod headstand. I'm going to remember to breathe. Remember, do not extend the legs unless you're against the wall. Even then, you want to be careful. If you have any pressure on your neck and you feel like you need to come out immediately. To come out of tripod, simply bring one foot down and then the other. And then find child's pose. Resting your head on the mat or on the block. This is the counter pose for headstand. So for shoulder stand, it's fish. For tripod, it is child's pose. Taking several breaths in child's pose. All right, when you're finished with your headstand, feel free to pause the video, rewind it, try it again. Of course, don't do it if you're not comfortable with it. When you're ready, come to a comfortable seated position. I've given you several options for inversions tonight. Child's pose, bridge pose, supported hip stand, legs up the wall, shoulder stand, dolphin, and headstand. These are poses you can practice at whatever level you are. In yoga, simply doing legs up the wall is enough. You don't have to do headstand to be successful at an inversion. So I'd like to invite you now to take a relaxation, perhaps a 7-minute relaxation, just to allow your body to absorb the benefits of the postures we just did. As you can hear the dogs in the background, my neighborhood is starting to wake up. It's 5 o'clock on a weekday afternoon. So everybody's starting to get out and about. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video, but I'd like for you to try some of these inversions this week. See if they help you. See if you're feeling like you need to build some energy. Maybe try some inversions just to get the blood flowing to your brain. That's another benefit of an inversion I forgot to mention. It does allow blood to flow to the head in a bigger quantity and wake up. Bring more oxygen to your brain. So have a great week, and don't forget to submit your Bitmoji yoga poses for extra credit, and I will see you soon.